Hello, my name is Hank Wolfla, K9LZJ. About 12 years ago, a friend of mine, K9SG, Gary Stouter, and I worked at the same hospital. We became friends immediately since we were both ham radio operators. We took our first DX expedition together, and when we came back, we decided it might be fun to have a remote station that we could operate and put up some bigger antennas. Behind me, you see the cultivation of that effort. Behind me you see a steel barn, part of which is rented out for storage, and the rest you will see later is our ham radio station. Over the last 12 years, we have erected 4 towers and over 30 antennas, covering from 1.2 or 1.8 megahertz to 1.2 gigahertz. We cover all the ham radio bands and all modes. We can operate a kilowatt on 80 meters, 160, all the way up through 2 meters, and very shortly we'll have a kilowatt on 440. You again will see this when you get inside. I'd like to show you some antennas at the ham station that K9SG and I have built. We're going to start on my left, which is an 80 meter vertical antenna, and behind that antenna you will see a 4-square for 40 meters. We are very happy with the performance of the 40 meter 4-square. We come to the left, we see a 40-foot tower with a 2-element tribander, a 440 horizontal antenna, a satellite antenna on top of that, and on the very top the J-pole. Behind that antenna you'll see an 80-foot tower with a stepper, missing an element at the moment, a 9-element 6-meter beam, and again a J-pole at the top. You will see wires kind of crisscrossing as we pass. One of them is a 80-meter dipole for the W9IMS team. Behind that is a 40-meter dipole on the next tower, which is the 56-foot tower with a quad on it, as well as the 40-meter dipole for WIMS. What you missed in the middle, which is hard to see because we have to pan up, is a 160-foot Roan 54 tower with coaxes that look like a cable satellite, a cell phone tower. It is a guide tower. It goes all the way up, and up there we have a 5-element 20-meter beam. We have a 30-meter dipole. Further up, you'll see Dale, WB9YCZ, a member of our club, working on our Vhf Uhf antenna systems. Further up, you will see that there is a 40-meter Moxon, a 5-element 20-meter beam, and then at the very top are a set of 440 beams and a set of 1.2 gigahertz beams for our VHF work, which will be operating in July in the contest. If we first come around, continuing to the left towards the front of the barn, we see one more pole. It is connected to a telephone pole in the front yard, and that is our 160-meter inverted L antenna. We're now at the small mini barn, which is located behind the main structure, the steel barn. We built this barn to house our lightning protection for each antenna coming from the towers and verticals and dipoles into this facility, so that each antenna can go through a lightning arrestor before it goes into the ham radio location where our rigs are located. We also have switches here run by Green Heron. We also have antenna control for beverage antennas that we put up during the winter, as well as switching arrangements for our VHF and UHF antennas located on the 165-foot tower. There's no black. What do you mean? I'd like to point out our newest construction project. It's a 10-foot piece of tower buried in the ground just a few days ago. We're going to put another 10-foot piece of tower on there, and this is where we're going to be building our 2-meter EME station. We'll have 4 2-meter beams with the ability to track the moon as well as satellites. We'll be running 1 kilowatt on 2 meters for the EME station. This EME station will be unusual since it will be able to be operated for any place in the world through our remote control system using the internet. Hello, I'd like to introduce you to our workshop area that our station uses to build our antennas and our radios and so forth. This workshop is a cultivation of tools from the members of the club. I'd like to introduce the members of our club. One of them, WB9YCZ, you saw on the top of the tower. The other one is K9SG, Gary Stouter. The other one is Tom Chance, K9XV. The last one is Gavin Roberts, W9YE. That makes the 5 of us who basically support this facility. Many of you who operate the low bands over the years have heard of W9IMS, the W9 Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which broadcasts on all the bands during the race time of the races run at the 500-mile track. They operate on normally 3 bands. 2 of those bands are operated from here. The radio operators of the club use an internet connection to tie to this rack panel. They can operate 40 and 80 meters here with kilowatt amplifiers. As a matter of fact, they just finished up a race yesterday, and they will be starting the 500-mile race in just a week, and all of the stations you hear using the W9 IMS call will be broadcast from here, except for the 20-meter station. We're located in the first shack that we built, which is a little room about 12 by 12. We paneled the room and carpeted it and started our operations here with a TS2000 and a vertical antenna in the backyard. It's grown a little bit since that time. We have divided our stations into domains thanks to Tom, K9XV, our expert in computer systems. We have here domain 1, which is a K3, driving a 2K FA amplifier, a 2,000 watt amplifier, connected to a computer, and this station can be totally operated from any place in the world. As a matter of fact, I spend my winters visiting my daughter in Perth, Australia, which is exactly on the opposite side of the earth from Indianapolis, Indiana, on the Indian Ocean. I operate domain 1 as well as other stations using a remote head of the K3. I can operate the station from Australia, or I can operate it from my home located 8 miles away. As you will see, as the video shows, we have a computer screen, and towards the top of the rack panel you will see rotor controls. Those rotor controls are likewise put on a computer screen that was shown to you just a second ago, and we can control the rotors remotely. We also can control the amplifier remotely. Otherwise, this station can be completely operated from any place in the world. You are entering now the second room, not as fancy as the last, but at least we do have carpeting in here. We have 2 operating stations here. We have domain 2, which is located in front of me, which is again a K3 that is connected to a 1K FA amplifier, and again this station can be operated any place in the world. I'd like to introduce you to our Vhf Uhf station. This station operates from 2 meters through 1.2 gigahertz. We have a TS2000, a 7100, and this location will also be used for our EME operation with a separate computer. The TS2000 is connected to a 2,000 watt solid state amplifier. Okay, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the club here. A few years ago, when there were more than Gary and myself, we decided to incorporate underneath the Indiana LLC law, and we now have a club called Innovations in DX and Contesting. We then applied and received a call of W9 Victor Whiskey, otherwise W9 Volkswagen, that we used during contests on both VHF and UHF. You also may wonder how we support this station. The club members make a small contribution each month to cover the utility costs and ongoing costs of this facility. The station is not open at the present time to anybody anywhere, but of course we would always be and willing to accept other members into the club if they have the same goals and directions as our current members.